All right, guys. So today we're going to perform 3 different tasks. We are going to set up a security policy by using Claude.md. Then we're going to use our skill.md to set up our procedures for a threat model. And then we're going to do asset discovery as well as a vulnerability scan on the intentionally vulnerable web application OWASP, right? So let's take a closer look at the 5 primary elements of Claude Code before we jump into the terminal. Claude.md is basically a file that will allow us to define guardrails or parameters that our agents have to follow. Skills is going to function as procedures. This is going to tell our agents what to do. So if Claude.md tells our agents what not to do, think of skills.md as telling our agents how to perform the task. MCP is just model context protocol. This is the element that allows the client to communicate with the server. Then we have main agents and sub-agents. Main agents delegate tasks to sub-agents. Sub-agents are going to be used for specialized tasks. Hooks are going to allow us to automate tasks before and after events. So taking a closer look at Claude.md, this is where you'll see rules like never hard code credentials, never hard code API keys, or JSON web tokens, or secure shell access keys. Anything that's sensitive, you don't want hard coded, and you want to make sure you have that defined in your security policy, and you can use Claude.md to set up that security guardrail. Another popular one would be enforcing multi-factor authentication on all domain admin accounts, or making sure all of your endpoints have authentication, right? And then we have our skills layer, which will be titled skill.md, and this is going to be our procedures or our template, which will tell our agents how to perform the task that we need them to perform, and it's going to provide step-by-step instructions. And so the skill.md layer that we're going to use today is going to be the stride framework. And so this is like 6 different components, and each letter represents a different function, or rather a different question that we want our agents to ask the application or the system that it's running the security scan on while it's running the security review. So the first letter is S, and that stands for spoofing. And so this is going to allow our agents to ask, hey, can someone pretend to be our server, right? Can someone pretend to be someone that they're not? Can a threat actor pretend to be one of our users to gain access to our database, right? A relational database, RDS, whatever your database is. We don't want threat actors being able to infiltrate these sensitive resources. And so we can set up authentication. And then the next letter in the stride framework is going to be T for tampering. And so tampering is going to allow our agents to ask the question of, can someone modify our data, right? And this is usually due to weak integrity in the CIA triad. And so how can we uphold integrity? By making sure we're using secure, trusting, secure, vetted hash algorithms like SHA-256 instead of MD5, which is known for collisions, right? And so our next letter is going to be R for repudiation. And this is going to allow our agents to ask the question, can someone deny that they performed a task that they actually performed? And so this is usually due to missing or weak logging. And so we can use AWS CloudTrail, which will allow us to aggregate our logs from multiple sources, and we can retain them indefinitely. And then we have I for information disclosure. And so this is going to allow our agents to ask the question while they're doing their security review, hey, can our data be leaked, right? This is usually due to mix match permissions, right? And we can uphold or improve our permissions by performing least privilege and making sure we're reviewing these accounts that have access to resources, and asking ourselves every 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, hey, does this person or does this service still need access to this particular resource? So these are some guardrails that we can have set up to help mitigate. And then the next letter is going to be D. This is for distributed denial of service. And so our agents are going to scan this application and go, hey, can our resources be overwhelmed, right? This is like a DDoS flood or sync flood attack. And so this can be mitigated with rate limiting, or Shield or Shield Advanced, or web application firewall if it's a layer 7 distributed denial of service attack. So there's multiple different ways we can fight against DDoS attacks. And then our last letter is going to be E. E for elevated privileges. This is where our agents are going to ask, can someone gain elevated access to resources that they're not intended to have, right? And so we can hedge against this by using AWS IAM roles instead of AWS IAM users and groups, because IAM roles automatically terminate within a few hours, and they automatically terminate access within a few days, depending on how you configure them. And so, as well as least privilege. So all of these different letters represent a different sort of concept that we need to make sure that our agents are asking when our agents are performing the security review. And so now we're going to head over to the terminal, and I'm going to set up the security policy. All right, guys, so now I'm going to create the sort of security policy or the guardrails before I even have my agent perform the threat model, the asset discovery, the vulnerability scan. I want to make sure that my agents have some guardrails in place before I do those tasks. So let me go into open folder, OWASP demo. I think it's in that one. Okay, yeah. So I already have a Claude.md file, but I'm going to do it over again so that we can walk through the steps together. So I'm in .claude, and I'm going to create a new file. And I have to title it all caps Claude.md, lower caps. In order for Claude to find this as the Claude.md file, it has to be in this formatting. And then I'm just going to hit enter. I'm going to open up a new terminal, and then I'm going to launch Claude. All right. Hey, can you help me make a new Claude.md file using my text I have here? And then I have this text. I'm going to go over that in a moment. There. Okay, so now while it's processing that, let me scoot this over a little bit. Let's go over this text that I have here. So it's saying setup issue error because I'm not connected to my MCP servers, but that doesn't matter right now. But basically the overview is going to allow my agent to have a better understanding of the system that it's going to be working with, right? And so I'm saying node.js. This is just the runtime environment that the JavaScript is going to operate in. Then we have the REST API. This just means that this is used to allow applications to communicate over the HTTP methods. Then handles PII, personal identifiable information, and financial data. This is telling Claude, hey, this information is highly classified, it's highly sensitive information. Then we have 2 million plus customers. This is letting Claude know, hey, this is a large company. Microservices architecture. This just means, hey, Claude, this application has many different components within a larger component. With Redis cache. Redis cache is just a cache that's like a high performing, high performance, low latency. It has high availability and it has persistence. And then the Postgres SQL is just letting Claude agents know this is the type of database that you're going to be working with, right? This is the relational database for structured data. And then right underneath that, it says security classification, which is high. This is financial data, so that's to be expected. And then mandatory security rules. That's the main thing I want to go over. So some of these rules are common, like never hard code secrets, API keys, passwords, or connection strings. You might want to add JWT tokens. You might want to add secure shell access keys, database credentials, anything that's sensitive that you don't want your agent to hard code, you will put here. Something else you would put here is make sure we have sanitation of fields and field validation. This is going to help us hedge against cross-site scripting and SQL injection, which operate at the layer 7 of the OSI model. And then underneath that, we have band parameters. The band parameters, we put that in because we don't want Claude Code generating just any old code that could be insecure, that could be dangerous, right? And so we have a val which can allow untrusted code to be immediately executed. So I put it in the band list. Then we also want to make sure that we're only using secure hashing, right? We don't want to use MD5. We want to use SHA-256 because MD5 is known for collisions. We want to make sure we avoid HTTP port 80 and use HTTPS for 443 because we don't want our plain text data sent over untrusted networks, because that will make us susceptible to man-in-the-middle or on-path attacks, right? And then we have approved libraries. This is just basically saying, hey, we want to make sure that you're only generating your code or your packages from these trusted, vetted registries. We don't want you just using any public registry that you want. You have to adhere to this particular list that we already approved, right? And then we have the pre-completion checklist. This is basically giving Claude an opportunity to circle back around and say, hey, making sure that it adheres to all of these rules, all of these regulations that we have defined here. And again, you can put whatever you want depending on what your organization needs. And this is kind of like just a second pass through that Claude agents are going to go through before they mark our task as complete. And so we have a message. So let's see, do you want to overwrite Claude.md? Let me see. Nope. Please make a new Claude.md file. I already have an old Claude.md file. Where's that stored? Inside the skills folder. This will be a new Claude. That's not it. MD file located inside the OWASP demo folder. Okay. I'm going to make sure that it's not overwriting the other Claude.md because I need that one. So let's make sure that we're in the right location. So let me check the OWASP demo folder structure. No Claude.md exists directly in OWASP, so I'll create it there now. Claude, do you want me to create? The folder is in OWASP demo inside another folder titled .claude, and that is where Claude.md file is located. Boom. So sometimes it's not able to find it right away, and I literally just made this file. So if you guys experience that, that's pretty standard. It might take a few seconds for it to recognize this new file that I just created. It's still trying to use the other one or create a third Claude.md. Understood. Mini also on demo Claude, which currently exists, but it's empty. I will write your content into it now. Okay, yes. All right, so this is gonna take maybe 30 seconds. I'm gonna pause the video for now. Oh, done. Claude has written to audio security rules, and then next step, Claude will automatically pick up these rules whenever. Okay, awesome, never mind. So now we have our rules and regulations, right? So let's click on it. We're gonna open this up in preview. I'm gonna move this over so we have a little bit of space. Okay, so everything is in here. Now we're going to move on to our next step, and that is going to be performing the threat model. In the application that we're working on, performing the threat model on is the OWASP intentionally vulnerable website. So this application has a whole bunch of red flags from top to bottom, and we're going to use this application and we're going to do a threat model on it. But first we have to set up our strides layer. So let's head back over to the terminal. All right, guys, so now we're going to create the procedures. This is going to be the like the step-by-step template that allows our agents to perform a task. And the task that we're performing today is going to be threat modeling. And so in the Juice Shop, I'm going to go down to Claude or .Claude, and then I have skills. So I already have a skills.md file, but I'm going to create another one so that we can create one together. So I'm going to create a folder inside of skills, and I'm going to call this test stride threat model. Yeah, I don't know. Threat model. Oh, all right. And so I'm not going to create the file myself, because every single time I create the file, Claude Code gives me a little bit of attitude. So I'm going to let Claude Code create the file. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to do that. Let's open up our terminal. Come on, Claude. Claude is so particular. So let's wait for lunch. Okay, here we go. Hey, Claude. Can you help me write my new skill.md file inside the folder titled test threat stride model. I don't know why I made this name so big. Model. Yeah, that's all I want you to do now. Okay, so it's saying to set up issues for the MCP. It's just because I'm not connected to my MCP server, so that doesn't really apply to us right now. So let me first explore the project structure so I can understand what's going on there. I don't see a test threat. Oh, it's test threat. Okay, no. It's test stride. Okay. It is called test stride threat model. My bad. Let me try that. Let me search for that folder. Stride search. Okay, yeah. Do you want me to proceed? Yes. I'm gonna hit 1, and then contains simple expansion. Test stride for swap. Yes. All right. Stride path users read file. Yes. All right. So this is gonna take like 30 seconds. So I'm gonna pause it and then come back. I'll be right back, guys. All right, guys. So it found the folder finally. Now it's asking me, do I want to create the skills.md? I'm going to say yes. So skills.md is written. Okay, so now I should have the threat.md file. Let's go over here and check. Nope, the threat.md file is not made yet. Thanks. Can you make the threat.md output now? Thank you. Okay, so we have our skills.md file, but I'm still waiting for the threat.md file. So I'm gonna pause it again and I'll return once it's done with the second half. All right, guys, so it's saying the threat.md file is written. Let's go and confirm. Okay, so we finally have our threat.md file. Let's see what we got. And so this is the threat model that our agent performed on the OWASP web application. It's an intentionally vulnerable app, right? I'm going to open this up in preview. 1 second. Open preview. Okay. Okay, so we have our actors. As we know, these are just going to be people or systems that are connected to this application. Then we have our trust boundaries. This is basically, this is very critical areas because this is typically where threat actors like to infiltrate the network. Then we have our architecture diagram. This is going to identify assets that are on that application. It's going to identify how data flows in and out of different systems. It's going to identify the trust boundaries. Then we have our threat mapping. This map is going to show us the specific threats that were found on this particular application. Then we have our threat table, which is going to measure the impact of a threat occurring. It's going to measure the likelihood of a threat occurring, as well as gives us steps for remediation. And then we have our key risk. Key risk is important because let's say there were like 20 different weak areas or 20 different vulnerability areas. The key risk is going to summarize this to the top 3 to 5 that are most critical that we need to pay attention right now. And then our recommended controls are just going to be steps to fix the issues that were identified in the threat map. Right. And so now that we have our procedures, right, our agents know what to look for and how to perform a threat model. Now we can move into the actual vulnerability scan on the open source dependencies. And in order to do that, we have to use an MCP protocol. The MCP just stands for Model Context Protocol. This is going to allow our client to communicate with our server. And in our case, our client is the agent and the server is the MCP sneak server, right? And so the MCP sneak server is just a server that allows us to do asset discovery, vulnerability scans on open source dependencies. You can use your MCP protocol to allow your agent to query databases, to call API keys, to write files, to send emails, to generate support tickets. The options are limitless, and these different elements are called tools. The other side to that is going to be resources. This is what our agent reads. These are knowledge objects that our agent uses. And so this could be a database. This can be files like a JSON structured file. It could be a log file. It could be a PDF document. It could be an image. It could be a picture or a diagram, which is what we were just looking at on the previous screen. But before I can allow my agent to have access to the MCP Sneak server, I have to set up a free account on sneak.io. For what I'm doing today, the free account is perfectly fine. I'm only doing one vulnerability scan. Once I set up my account, I have to go through the authentication process, and then I can start the server. Once the server is started, I can go in and have Claude perform the vulnerability scan on the OWASP web application. So I'm going to pause it and set all that up, and then I'll be right back. All right, guys, so now I'm going to open up a new terminal. So I should be able to start my MCP Sneak server. I'm going to figure out what MCP servers I currently have. Should have 0. And then I'm going to connect to my MCP Sneak server. And then I'm going to ask Claude to do a vulnerability scan. So let's see if that works. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. All right, so let's do Claude MCP list. So what MCP, I'm just asking Claude, like, what MCP servers do you have access to? It should be nothing, so it's saying failed. And then now I'm going to start my MCP Sneak server, which is, I think it's Sneak MCP T, okay, MCP-TSSE-experimental. Okay, good. Yeah, that was it. All right, so it started the server, right? We're started. I'm going to leave this open. If I close this terminal, it's going to stop my server. So I'm going to do a split terminal. And now I'm going to start Claude. Let's start Claude. All right, let's also MCP. Let's confirm that I am in. It's connecting. Okay, so I'm connected. All right, so let's exit out of that. All right. Hey, can you perform a vulnerability scan on my open source dependency? Vulnerability scan. Wait, let me say on my project. Yeah, on my project titled Juice Shop. Juice Shop. Can you perform a vulnerability scan on a project titled Juice Shop? Juice Shop's open source dependencies. All right, so it's thinking. This usually takes like 30 or 40 seconds. So I'm probably gonna pause the video again until it's done, unless it's gonna go really fast. Running the sneak source. Okay, so it already knows that it has access to sneak. I didn't have to say, hey, use the MCP sneak server. The agent already knows it has access to this tool and is going to use this tool to perform the vulnerability scan on the open source dependencies, which is good. And so now it's calling the sneak server now. That's good. All right, so I'm gonna pause the video and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so I finally finished with the vulnerability scan on the open source dependencies on the OWASP Juice Shop application. And I'm just going to take a peek at the report it generated. It saved it to the dependency vulnerability report.md. Right, so I'm currently in here. It's a pretty lengthy report. I'm not going to get into it today because this video is already longer than I wanted it to be, but you're starting to see the power of Claude Code and using your agents and using it with the MCP protocol, using it in creating your skill.md so that you have your procedures, and using it with your Claude.md so that you have your security policies, so that I didn't have to do much when it came to the threat mapping or the vulnerability scan. I literally typed in a couple of lines and my agent did it for me. And so this is the next wave when it comes to SOC analysts or cybersecurity professionals. Entry-level cybersecurity jobs are going to be mostly ran by humans working alongside with agents. And so it's very imperative that we start to learn these skills, start to learn how to properly use these agents, how to set up safeguards so that our agents aren't hard coding credentials, how to make sure that our agents know how to perform the task correctly so that we don't have to go in there manually and override and overdo things or correct their errors. So there's a lot of power in Claude.md and skills.md and MC protocols. Hopefully this helped you guys. I'm going to link the tools that I use below. I think I have it in my slides. Hold on. And we already went over the MCP protocol. What else is in here? Main agent. We know our main agent. We know our sub agents. They do specialized tasks. You can have like a threat hunt agent, and that agent will only perform threat hunts. And then you can have an agent who does threat mapping, who only does threat mapping. Then you have a separate third agent who does like risk analysis to figure out the likelihood, the impact, and maybe it can map the CVSS score. And each agent is going to work independently and have its own independent context window, its own independent prompts, and its own independent permissions, right? And so this is the power of working with sub agents. You don't want to do it too much because sub agents are expensive when you use a main agent alongside sub agents. I'm going to do a separate video because this one's too long, but we can spin up like maybe 5 different sub agents to perform multiple different tasks, and then have all of those agents perform a security review on whatever application we're working with for that day. But there's a lot of power behind sub agents, but they're also really expensive. So you want to have a strong use case before you start spinning them up. And then moving on, let me see, hooks. We know hooks are going to allow us to automate tasks before and after events. And then our resources that I use. So I'm currently using Claude Code Pro, which is only $20 per month. I think they have a $100 plan and a $200 plan. For everything I did today, the $200 plan was more than enough. And then I use VS Code because it allows me to see my files and my folders and my projects. It just gave me a better layout. You can use Git to make sure that you're recording all the actions that your main agent and sub agents are taking. team, any changes, any deletion, file creation, anything that they do, you want to make sure you're recording that. And then I use the MCP sneak server to perform the vulnerability scan on the open source dependencies. And then I use the Stride framework to perform the skill.md. And all of this was mostly free. I did take a course called Mastering Claude Code for Cybersecurity Professionals. The course was $50, but I wanted to make sure I set everything up correctly, so I went ahead and spent those $50 to invest in my cybersecurity profession. And I feel like it was the best $50 I spent. I'll link the Udemy course that I took below if you guys want to learn more about that instructor, or you want more detailed oriented. I'm trying to keep this video short, so I wasn't able to go, as in depth. I'm going to do a separate video where we're using multiple different agents to perform separate tasks, just to keep this video short. But hopefully this video was helpful. I'm going to reference all the resources that I use below. Bye, guys.